That's what's up.
We should have won at least like one of the Yankees.
Oh, Dodgers are fucking great.
Yankees like 50 of them.
How you doing? No, we were just basically, yeah, they said, let's do this whenever you're ready. Meaning you. So, hold on, we gotta get his mic on.
Chef, 1, 2.
This is the first panel. There we go. Hello, Astronomicon is a new spot. I've been mathing the math. It is the Astronomicon 8 is the 9th Astronomicon.
So the math ain't nothing.
Yeah.
It's
The math is not math.
It's kind of, yeah, it should be about 9, yeah. We had a half, that's what it was, a halftime thing.
Well, I have a feeling no one in this room needs me to introduce any of these fellows, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's the ROC down there. Mr. Demoski, and y'all know EOAZ. You know me, I'm your new friend, Ryan J. Downing.
Yes.
So yeah, we're gonna conversate. I've got questions for all of you, and then I know you guys got some questions too. Yeah, that's veteran status, right?
Yeah, it is. 5. Come on, it's 5.
That's like high school plus repeating grade, right?
That's how we.
SNL, yeah, 5-timers
Yeah,
club.
you're a 5-timer now.
See?
I'm down, I'm hip.
This is what we do at Astronomicon. We speak the pop culture language. Yeah, we're hip.
Yes.
Martin Short is saying. We know about SNL lore from the 80s.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm going to start all the way down at the end. I'm going to ask each of you something that I've, believe it or not, never really heard fully explored, which is take me all the way back as a youngin', or youngling as they say in Star Wars. What was the first music you ever fell in love with? And then at what point did you realize this isn't just something that I love, this is something I need to participate, I need to create?
Sheesh. Oh, Lord, hey, you really want me to show my age.
We're going deep.
For me, I'd say like, of course, as a youngin', you listen to, a lot of different music. But I really honed in on, for me, it was Jackson 5, Michael Jackson. For me, it was that.
Yeah.
And me and all my brothers, growing up, that's, we knew that's who we were going to be. Like me and my, we're going to be Jackson, we're going to be Michael Jackson 5. We're going to be Michael Jackson 5. I'll be Michael Jackson, and y'all can be Tito, and we knew Jermaine and all that, we just knew. Like, at that point, like, I knew. But for me, being, vocalist and things like that was cool. Even at a young age, I was more interested in the music portion of stuff. Like, how? Because I kind of got it and knew for me, it was, vocals are great, but to me, what drives is the music. Because you'll listen to a instrumental, but who's gonna listen to just a vocal instrument just with no music? So me, that's kind of, when I was young, it was just the Jacksons for me, and the music, and of course a lot of the music from, producers like, Quincy Jones and things like that. It was just like, how? So for me, it was that, man. It was just, yeah, and that was early 80s.
So were you also seeing them on TV, like American Bandstand, Soul Train, Solid Gold, all that?
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. And it was, again, it was just amazing to me. It's like, how? Like, you can actually do this, Yeah, you can actually do it. So yeah, for me, it was the Jacksons. Yeah.
And then what was your first steps into actually trying?
My first steps in actually trying, that was probably mid to late 80s. I had a little job, I had a little, so, you know, me and my cousin, that's how it kind of started. Is Jamie, Paul, me and my cousin, that's how it kind of started. Is Jamie, Paul, Chris, my other brother who I haven't talked to him. So there was no computers, everything was
Oh,
like
and you had a little
reels.
X-Acto knife
Yes,
to
I'm telling you, yeah, reel to reels. And that's my age.
and you had to pay for those reels too.
Oh my goodness.
Not just the hour of the
My
studio.
mom still actually has the first reel that we, 8-track reel to reel. My mom still has, so yeah.
They
it's
still
pretty-
sound great.
it's pretty
And
good.
you can bid on it at Astronomicon next year.
You gonna get what you bet. That's right. Yeah. So for me, yeah. I'd say mid to late 80s. First experience in the
So-
studio.
We put a pin in it there because I actually want to pick up from there. Gmo, what kicked it off for you? What was the first music where you were like, this is my shit? And then when did you realize I gotta make music?
Well, the earliest music that I remember, because I was born in 1991, right?
Damn, geez.
I was finishing up high school, middle school.
Yeah, so like, you know, around like maybe like 94, 95, you know what I'm saying? The first song I could really remember was like Big Pun, I Don't Want to Be a Player. Like I just remember hearing it in the car, like on the radio, you know what I'm
On
saying?
the radio it was Crush-a-bot.
Yeah, that's the first song that I can really remember in my brain. But I remember like getting a little older and my oldest brother Roy, he was into No Limit, you know what I mean? Master P and all them.
He was about it one
He
night.
was all about it. We was No Limit soldiers. Like he had every CD, like all of the Silk the Shocker, all the different artists. And like ROC said, like we was pretending to be them.
You were.
Like,
That's
you know,
how
like,
start.
my older brother was Master P, I was Silk the Shocker. You know what I
That's
mean?
how you
And,
start.
and it was like that, but I realize now, like, my earliest memories of music, it was like other people playing stuff for me. You know, it wasn't like me finding my own stuff. And then, like, I remember when Eminem came out and my brother showed me that CD, now that I look back at it, I feel like that first initial Eminem was so marketed towards kids, like the Hi, My Name Is, and all the colors and stuff. Like, it really got me, bro. And I was about that. Like, that was like my favorite shit. And, you know, and I've been rapping, you know, ever since then, ever since like my brothers and my oldest cousin, they were rappers, you know what I mean? They would write raps and stuff, and I used to want to be in that room with them, and I was just like 5, 6 years old, you know what I'm saying? So they didn't take me serious, you know what I mean? But now I'm the motherfucker really rapping. I'm not trying to down my brother and them like they didn't believe in me, but I was like a baby, you know what I mean? I was 6 years old, I was a baby, so they was just like, little Jerron, you ain't got nothing. You know what I mean? And I really had some shit though, so you know what I mean? That was my earliest days.
So you also are kind of like a No Limit soldier because you are a captain.
Yeah, Captain Crunch.
Yeah.
Yo, straight up. Fuck the Pan Sam, fuck the Honey Smack Frog, Captain Crunch, bitch.
Mr. BLAZE.
Oh man, I think mine's so much different because I grew up with like this big, huge family,
Yeah,
but
you did.
some I sheltered in some of the stuff that we were allowed to listen to or watch, and some of the stuff I guess. So
Was it like no cursing and that kind of thing?
yeah, a lot of that in my house for the most of the time. So, but I also came up right when like the beginning of MTV and it dropped in, so everything like hit at once. And I just remember like, so choir and stuff like that was like the first experience for me of music. And then around my family, like a lot of my fucking family members around my family would have instruments in there. Like my grandma had organs and all types of fucking accordions and crazy ass shit all over the house. So it was like, you know, of course, I didn't try any of those. I didn't know what I could never. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. But I did like to sing all the time. So it's like my brother. So I remember one of the first things we started doing, we would play records at my grandma's house because she had a basement and it was big as fuck. And we'd be down there playing this fucking record. And I remember the first shit we were playing was like Black Sabbath. What the hell? So I remember we were playing the shit out of this, and then it slowly moved from there to my house, and we would do this like when my parents weren't at home. We'd be fucking bumping loud as hell, and then I slowly moved in these speakers, and then I started putting this stuff together. And this is like at the time when I didn't even meet ROC yet, because it was like in the 90s probably. So it's like 90, I think I met ROC in about 95.
Yeah, mid-90s.
Yeah, 94, 95, somewhere around there. And that's when I first started actually, you know, I got up with, ROC said his name before Scraps. I got up with him and I met him through some work, and me and him started doing the same thing, like G said, like just rapping, but we were rapping. I was rapping other people's shit in the parking lot, and he heard me and he was like, dude, have you ever thought about doing this? Like, you know, you sound good doing their shit. Maybe you could do this on your own. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe, you know, let's try doing some shit. Place ROC was talking about a disc. Before that, though, I met ROC and Matt Rocks in the parking lot while I was promoting. And
When you say promote, you mean handing out flyers?
Yes,
Yeah.
promoting with flyers. For something I never even started. We wrote raps and had beats in our head, but nothing that was on anything.
You kind of willed it into existence.
Yes,
Yeah.
pretty much. Because I met ROC and he was like, yo, oh, you're going to the disc? And I was like, yeah, we got this thing, we got this, you know, we're basically gonna go up there and they're telling us what we can do, same thing ROC's talking about, except for now they have this new shit going on called the Rapper's Delight demo. Okay. So the Rapper's Delight demo consists of, they don't sell the reels to you anymore. And you just get your cassette tape with your 4 tracks, whatever you made within that time frame, for like $500 and get the fuck out the door. And then what you have is this cassette tape that you can't do anything with except play for your homies, basically. You can't reproduce it or nothing, so you're kind of fucked. So the first thing I did, I went in there and I listened to Duke Steele, and I went outside and I was like, yo, Scraps, I know this dude. I met him, his name's ROC, he said he's got studio time. And I was like, all right, cool. So I went right outside, and there's a phone right outside the disc, a fucking payphone.
Yes.
I picked this bitch up, put fucking 25 cents in, because it was 25 cents back then. Yes, threw a quarter.
It wasn't 10
Called
cents,
this
not
man.
that old.
I called this man on the phone, and he was like, I got you. $35, come on through. We went there the next day, and I remember we recorded one track with ROC and his cousin, you already mentioned, Marcus. And they had studio equipment at this time, and we recorded one, and it was at ROC's house in his basement. And that day he was like, yo, y'all really want to do this? Y'all ain't gotta pay me shit. Let's just start working. And that's exactly it. That's how it was. Nothing like
You just hit the tennis ball right back down there too.
That's what it is.
Masterfully done. So yeah, pick up from there a little bit from your side of that, and you know, what did you think about this dude when you first encountered him, and how did all that go down for
It's
you?
exactly, you know, what he said, and then, you know, me, you know, tapping in to monoxide, you know, Madrox, and, you know, kind of telling them, yo, you know, I think we need to fuck with these guys, you know, like,
Yeah.
hey. And then it just kind of, yeah, it's kind of snowballed, you know, and yeah, man, and here we are, 30 years?
shit, hell yeah. Forever later.
Wow.
Still doing it.
Yeah, so.
It's true. Always what's up.
It does seem to go.
That's how it does.
Yeah, because you blink and you're like, oh yeah, great. And like, oh my God, that was.
Well, then it starts going faster too,
I'm
because
telling you,
when
as you
you're
get older,
15, 5
it
years
does.
was like a third of your life.
It's a time, yeah.
Now it's, no, but we're still here.
I know, it goes so fast, but you know, I'm telling you, you're on that stage and you're like, oh Jesus, is it the end of my set yet? I'm telling you, yeah, get older, man. But you know, you wouldn't change it. It's just.
Hell no.
Honestly, it is the most, for me, it's the most, like, almost at times, like the most surreal thing. Like, you have to understand, like, even right now, sitting up at a table and people actually like listening to what I gotta say. That part of your brain, like, who the fuck cares? You know, that's that part. And that other part of you, like, holy shit, man. Like, you've been doing this. Collide a lot, they do. But it is, and it's surreal sometimes, but it's like, I wouldn't change it. And going through what we, going through, in all these years and the things you go through, again, there's a couple things I would change, of course. Everybody has a few things in there to change, but for the most part, it's like, you wouldn't change it, man. It's the best feeling in the world. It is the best.
So a question for all three of you. You mentioned Black Sabbath and even that idea with that first incarnation with the Devils. What each of you do is not only musical but also visual, and there's always an aesthetic and an imagination, and thinking to House of Crazies, which of course is back. There's been House of Crazies activities, performances, music. But I'm interested to hear from each of you. We can start down on your end and work our way back again about the whole kind of visual and the theatricality and the idea of having this world building, as they call it now.
Yeah.
And aside from, but also enhancing the music.
Mm-hmm.
How did that start for you?
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that?
Again, like I said, HOK, we kind of got that engine, pushing again. Thank you to, seriously, guys, thank, Twisted for that they were, down for us to get that engine rolling again for HOK. Visually, you guys always, you gotta thank Matt Drox. He is the visual engine behind a lot of the things that, you see. He's the visual engine. He is that. He's that visual engine. I would say the driver, he is. He's that engine, and the engine doesn't quite go without wheels. It's like you're trying to drive a car without wheels. So I would say the wheels probably would be Monoxide. He's the one that, and it's not like Monoxide's, y'all know Monoxide, he ain't really super vocal, he ain't really, sometimes he is, but, Paul's more, but he's that, he's that, so he's here, he's those wheels. And me, for House of Crazies, I'm the dude that just throws shit out the window whenever they tell me to. I fire at whatever needs to be fired upon. I'm that guy for HOK. So, and then it's us three together, it just, it's magic. Ninjas. It's magic ninjas. There you go. That's good. I see who said what you did there. There you go. There you go. I like that. It's magic ninjas. So that, yeah. So awesome.
So was that always a part of it for you, that in terms of just sort of the kind of larger, what Astronomicon is, right? All this pop culture and stuff.
Yes.
But that was always tied to the music for you as well?
Always. Yeah, always. But you guys gotta think that everything's like, you gotta think, what isn't tied? Honestly, everything is some way, somehow tied to music. It might start there from that seed, and then it just blossoms itself on different roads and all that good stuff. So,
When you think about your favorite movies, your favorite video games,
Yes.
music is such a I can't think about Castlevania without thinking about that dude.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah.
Mario.
Yep.
And then of course all the way into everything.
So
now.
for that part, and then here you are, 20, 30 years later, and Jamie, Paul, George, Mike,
Jamie and
all the
Paul,
other guys.
what? Okay, guys.
They put together this Astronomicon thing.
their names so many times, like, I was like, Beetlejuice, Candyman.
That's absolutely insane timing, because I swear I was just talking about y'all. That's crazy. The timing, and I was telling everybody here that, from like where, we started and it being like Astro.
Oh, we're doing some lore in here.
It's crazy.
We're breaking up lore.
It's crazy. Yeah, man. It's awesome. It's awesome. But yeah, so
They were asking me earlier, like they didn't want to crash the M&E panel. Obviously, they want you guys, the three of you, to get your flowers and not diminish your shine at all. But I was like, yeah, but guys, everyone knows you're here. So it's kind of weird if there's an M&E panel and you don't show up. So here we go.
I felt like that. I was like, wait a minute, they doing what? and then I went from anger to nice. I was like, can we go too? What the hell, gang? Here we are.
yeah. See?
Exactly.
Quickly.
So, Jamie Madrox, I'm going to throw you the same question that I gave these gentlemen to kick off, which is where we get into the deep lore. What was the first music you ever fell in love with? And then at what point did you realize, I don't just love this, but I need to create, I want to participate?
First music I fell in love with was, need this, I'm naturally in love. The first music I ever fell in love with was Kiss. No, but later on, as I come to...
I know you always say Kiss, but I don't see the influence. I don't really see any connection.
And mind you, this is the time when I didn't really understand that it was all about sex. Like, I just thought they were like superheroes, and I didn't understand that every song was about underage behavior. But just, I had no idea that it's Peter Criss, man. I can't. What do you want? The group can't speak for Peter Criss. Nevertheless, I'm sure maybe Eric Singer can speak for Eric.
He dresses up like him. So.
It's fair, yeah. Nevertheless, but yeah, it's not until I come to meet Brian and Paul where I start finding out about rap music, and they started putting me onto that, so it was kind of like a trade. I would play them.
Yes, and I was gonna say, for a lot of my experience in rock music, things like that came from him. So
we did like a barter system. Like they would play me the Fat Boys, and then I'd play them Cinderella.
Right.
And then they'd play me like BDP, and I'd be like, well, this is a band called Wasp.
There you go.
And we would just trade back and forth with different vibes and stuff like that. So
As a man who grew up loving KRS-One and Blackie Lawless, I salute you. I think that's probably why we're friends.
There you go.
And I feel like at the end of the day, I got the best of all of it. I was brought into all these different worlds of music, and it wasn't until like, I don't know, was it Legion of Boom that we really were trying to be serious about trying to rap and do stuff like that. Like we made it. When you make up a group and you don't have music, that's when you made it to. That's when you made it to.
That's the Blade story. Also.
Right?
I've done it,
We had hats and a name and a partnership and not a single lyric or music.
Nothing.
That was it. And that was it.
Andy from Black Veil Brides.
Stop the process, you just let it happen.
Yeah.
And we were also talking about, being the days of reel to reel and paying for,
He also said, y'all be quiet, I can hear what he's saying, and I'll tell you.
Everybody goes to Paul's Tops or the town. Honest to God, it was just something I got into because my best friends were doing it, and I was the worst at it, so it was always very discouraging to me. I'd be in that goddamn booth for 4 hours, it seemed like they'd be in there for 2 minutes. Boop, boop, done. Done. Leave. Midnight, 1 o'clock. It was like, hey, we only got like another 30 minutes.
We didn't care. We didn't give a fuck. We didn't care. No, we were in and out. We didn't care. We sounded worse than anybody. We didn't care. We were like, fuck it. We just schooled that. That's where we believed.
I did not know, I don't think either one of us knew that House of Crazies was really seriously onto something. Because we were comparing ourselves to already established people. Like, we go to an Esham concert, and he had fucking 800 people there. And we go to an ICP concert, and they got 1,000 people there. And then HOK did their first show, we did 800 people. We're like, oh, we fucking blow. But
Nobody cares.
once you go into the history, these dudes have done mad, they've been booed off stage, they've been, all that shit has never happened to us,
No.
thankfully.
Thankfully.
Like, we never had, we never had.
I remember y'all before me, fuck y'all.
You can do it on stage until Astronomicon.
Y'all dance,
There
remember?
was something so massive, but it was something. It was
You know, you did,
something.
I know you made the joke about Warped Tour, but I know, obviously like Bert from the Used this year doing photo ops. And whenever I talk to anybody from that rock world, they always have the nicest things to say about Twisted. You know, we're
Bart's the shit, man.
everybody's always like, they're so nice. And I think part of it is because it's the fear of the unknown, right? When they just saw you before they talked to you and got to know you, they were like, ooh, these dudes are trying to scare you or whatever. And that's
Right, we have this false reputation that precedes us. Everybody assumes
Representation.
they know what the fuck we're gonna be like. And that's why it doesn't matter, it can be fucking anything. It could be a magazine interview, talking to somebody on a podcast, and they always end it with like, wow, you guys are really cool.
I can't believe you can actually say this. It's almost like you're human.
And it happens every fucking time we do this. Right now, if I didn't like the guy, they're like, you're a really cool guy. Like, I guess, I'm just being fucking regular, you know what I mean? But I guess that's the thing, like, I guess artists are assholes and full of ego and all this other bullshit. We ain't got time for that. Hide from the police.
And it's the same people that are like, oh, you guys rap about serial killers and stuff that will be like wearing a Slayer t-shirt when they're saying that.
Right.
That's what we do.
It happens.
There's a voice for everybody.
Yep.
So I want to talk a little bit about, before you guys were in here, Blaze, you were talking about out promoting a semi-existent group
Mm-hmm.
and handing a flyer, I believe, to Jamie Madrox.
Yeah,
How that
yeah.
happened? What do you remember about that, Jamie?
I remember, yeah, I do remember that. It was
Sound bites.
sounds like.
It's not
23
just a
miles.
Is that a record store?
15 mile and crash, you know.
Oh, shit.
Sound bites.
All right, so me and ROC were hanging out flyers
They were doing homebound thing.
Now, like, and then somehow you were promoting something at the same time.
Let me just tell you something first. You asked Jamie something about history, get ready. It's all wrong. It's one of my favorite parts of these.
Alright, so like, I was wearing like these cream off-white Lottos, and I had like, at the time, I had like a tracksuit on, I was wearing my tracksuit on, and B was the one with the vehicle, so he was like, we went to flyer today, and the next thing you know, we seen him, and his dude, what's your weight? Your nose? Was it strap? No.
Here, what you want?
There you go, okay, alright. So he gives us a flyer, and then we end up coming to work with him, like they ended up coming to the studio, and it just worked. Like, if they would have never showed up to the studio, you wouldn't know this motherfucker. I promise you, that's like, because he took the initiative, Brian was like, come to the studio, we fuck with you, we'll come on, pull up or whatever, and then he came, and then that's how he's here today. If he would have never took that initiative, you wouldn't know this motherfucker.
That
Who you there?
That dude is a memorizational genius. That guy, his fucking mind. Anytime we're like, dude, what is this from this? We go to him.
Yeah.
He remembers
He will.
every fucking
He
thing.
remembers.
Not just our shit, any song that comes on the radio. Like, you just heard this one time.
What does he say?
Halfway through the chorus, you already know the motherfucker. Like, it's amazing to me. That shit's crazy. And if it wasn't for him, I'd miss a lot of lyrics on stage.
Nice.
fucking characters. Oh, no, this motherfucker, Jesus Christ. I can't, he should have, you need your own this.
Right.
You are that fucking
Yeah,
entertaining
right.
of a human being.
Hell yeah.
Like, it ain't got shit to do with music or nothing. He's just one of them dudes that you're around and you're like, this
His
motherfucker,
energy
Jesus
is fire.
Christ.
Yeah, man.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
There's a lot of charisma in a little dude.
Absolutely. Like, he is the complete embodiment of this, of Astro. Like, G is top to bottom, everything about it. This is his
Yes.
one. And that's what I want. I want you to come here and be the fucking God, because that's what I think you want.
The most common thing I heard today before coming into the panel room from everyone I ran into was, I would say like 80% of the people I ran into, the first thing they said was, have you seen Gmo yet?
I'm telling you.
And I was like, okay, you've asked me if I've seen Gmo yet. Oh,
I'm
I was
telling
in
you.
the disguise, bro.
Right.
See?
Disguise.
God.
Motherfucker working, huh?
Oh my God, he's just a very entertaining person. If you catch him online, anything, anytime you see him, the fucking guy is just on. And I love that. I love it.
Appreciate it, man.
Good shit. Good
No
shit.
problem. Thank you.
Gmo for president.
Hell yeah! And I'm voting for you.
I'm gonna have to listen to your policies. You gotta clear some shit out for me.
The best thing about a Gmo presidential campaign would be the battle
Let's
tracks.
do it.
Oh,
When you run the diss tracks against your opposing candidate, that's
Oh, yeah.
because this man's your battle rap.
And that's how I came up, man. I came up getting put on the spot, man, as a little kid, you know. Like, I was in one of those neighborhoods where it's like, oh, you rap? Spit some. You know what I mean? Like right there on the street. And I'm like the smallest out of everybody, the youngest out of everybody, just little small dude. They're like, y'all talking about this little nigga? No. But it made it easier to win battles, though. You know, because I was like an elementary school kid. And after school, I'd be at the bus stop getting ready to take the bus, and the high school kids would get off at that bus stop. And like one of my homies from school told his big brother that I rap. So they get off the bus like, oh, this the you little Gerard, you don't want to be rapping, man. Spit something. And I battled this high school kid, right? And because I was so small and so young, it didn't matter what I said. Like, as long as it rhymed, everybody went fucking crazy. So I'm kind of a battle MC, you know what I'm saying? Like the street shit, you know what I mean? When you had to show up, man. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Let me tell you, nothing scares me more than when they're like, go ahead, bust something.
Right. Because we didn't fuck you up. Right, but there you go. 3 months. We didn't do that shit. In 3 months.
These two can do it. Oh, and we're mean, and everybody's the mean. And I'm just like,
No, my businessman kicked his back in the day. I need to say something.
I'm gonna kill my fucking self, man.
Like,
I'm so in awe of people that could just bust off the top of their fucking head. I got hooked on battle rap and watching those dudes, but then I saw them in a fucking studio and they didn't know what to do with a beat.
yes.
I was like, wow.
Hey, but that's how, hey,
I'm better than you at that.
That's how Sean was.
Yeah.
Sean was, you know,
Yeah.
super dope.
You
know,
put a beat,
freestyle, but
he was like, hold
a
on.
little bit of the, as he was getting in the studio stuff, it was a little
It's
rough.
possible
on him.
that you can't be
Yeah.
good at everything.
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
some
True,
things,
man.
there's some things you shine harder at, and some things you don't, and then I think the key to it is finding what you're
Yeah,
best
man.
at and pushing that shit.
And, yeah, Sean at that.
I just had a fucking, I swear to God, somebody just said, bust something.
You know,
Isn't it crazy?